It is 6:07 a.m. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. to get ready. It is Christmas Eve and I am going on a trip. It's a turn, so I'm not laying over anywhere. I am flying to Aruba and then I am coming back to Miami, and I should finish around 8 o'clock, just a little bit after, and I'm going to try and catch a flight home. So that is what is on my agenda today. We'll see how busy the flights are. I was a little bit worried about being able to find parking this morning here at the South parking lot. I was watching the news yesterday and they were just talking about all the holiday traffic and to arrive extra early to allow extra time because the airports have been so busy. I think they said yesterday there was 178,000 people going through the Orlando airport alone. My voice sounds tired just saying that. Just kidding. But I think my voice sounds tired just because it's so early in the morning. So I allowed myself extra time. But here at the South parking lot, they have people guiding you. It's very efficient. It's very effective. Definitely gave me, peace of mind. I'm on time. I'm going to head to my gate and wait for my commuter flight to get me into Miami. I start my trip, I think we leave afternoon, but I have to be at my gate at 11 a.m. something. I can't remember exactly what time. I just know I'm planning on getting there with plenty of time. So come with me on today's journey on this misty 57-degree morning from Orlando. Welcome. Did I say? Hi, my name is Marissa and I'm a flight attendant with a major U.S. airline, and welcome to my channel.
So if you have a connection, your connection will not leave without you. That connection is delayed as well. The outage is on the news already, so you guys can Google it if you guys want to confirm that information. But once again, we are delayed everywhere else. So if you're going to an international or domestic destination, that aircraft is once again delayed.
Today was probably one of the most hectic days trying to get to work because of the system-wide outage for weights and balances. But I made it. I'm here on time. The incoming aircraft that we're going to use to go to Aruba is coming in a little bit late, but for the most part, it's showing that we're just a few minutes running behind schedule. We'll see, that can change, but I am so relieved that I made it on time to sign in for my trip. I'm just waiting now for the aircraft to get here, then those passengers will deplane, then the crew will scan on, do our safety checks, and we'll start boarding the new passengers off to Aruba and back all in the same day. That's my Christmas Eve. Okay, so brought the passengers to Aruba. Now going to load up new passengers and take them back to Miami, and then I am done working on this Christmas Eve. Thanks for coming along with me. Okay, so I am back from that turn that I worked, and that was some of the video that I recorded, but I didn't get to kind of debrief after my trip because it was a turn, which means I didn't have a layover. There wasn't a hotel for me to tell you how my trip went. So it's the next day. So yesterday was Christmas Eve, and I guess let me back up. A turn is when you fly from your home base to a destination and you return the same day. It's just a turn. You go, you come, you're done. And that's what I did. I flew from Miami to Aruba, then Aruba back to Miami, and then my day was done. Finito. But anyways, yesterday was Christmas Eve. So the night before, I was just on call. I was on a wrap, and that's what they call a block of time. There's wrap A, B, C, and D. I was on wrap A, which started at 12:01 a.m. until noon, and that's Christmas Eve. So 12:01 a.m. on Christmas Eve, I was on call, and that means they could call me and send me wherever for however many days I'm good to work. So that was stressing me out because I didn't know what to pack. I didn't know whether I should start driving to Miami. I didn't know where I was going to go. So what I ended up doing is I was looking for the trips that needed coverage, and I saw the trip to Aruba popped up. So I put a bid in for it, and luckily that bid came in during the evening. So what I did was the night before I had a report for my trip, I went to bed about 7:30 p.m. and I set my alarm. I had set my alarm. I'm all over the place. Before I knew I got the trip, I set my alarm for 11 p.m. thinking I was going to wake up and start driving to Miami. But then I was awarded the trip. So what I did was I set my alarm, I woke up, and I caught a flight to Miami. There, that makes more sense. I think I just made a whole mess of trying to explain this. But anyways, I've been taking notes to give you a more detailed account of how my day goes. And my notes got out of order, so I blame my notes. I bid for a trip and I got it, so I no longer had to wake up at 11 p.m. and drive to Miami to just wait to get called for whatever. Okay, so the night before I saw in the news, because of the Christmas holiday, the airports were crazy packed. They said that on the day before Christmas Eve, 178,000 people had gone through the Orlando airport. So they were just saying, if you're traveling on Christmas Eve, make sure you allow enough time because the parking garages were getting full. The waits for everything was turning out to be quite lengthy. So I was a little bit nervous in the morning, having to face that. I could not afford to miss my flight to get to my trip. But I actually got through the airport with plenty of time, and I was sitting at my gate when all of a sudden an announcement was made. The whole American Airlines system that does weights and balances for aircraft went down. So all airplanes within the company at all airports were grounded. They were not taking off. They weren't going anywhere. So I was a little bit stressed out, but I wasn't like completely freaked out, only because I knew the flight that I had to report to, they were in the same boat. So I just thought, this is something that's out of my control. I'm sure that I could explain it if I miss my trip or something happens, because I'm a commuter. I'm labeled as a commuter. But I don't want to go into the weeds with that. So anyways, they were estimating 1 to 3 hours that it would take before the system was up and running, but they got it fixed a lot quicker. I would say like an hour and 15 minutes after they made that announcement, we were able to continue our flight down to Miami. And when I got to Miami, I got there with plenty of time. I even had time to go by the Dunkin' and get an iced coffee. So I treated myself to an iced coffee in preparation for my turn to Aruba. Because of the system-wide hiccup that there was, the plane that we were going to take to Aruba was coming in from Cali, Colombia. So that ended up coming in a little bit late, which pushed our flight to Aruba a little bit later, but not too much. Needless to say, like when I got to Miami, I didn't have to run to my gate. I was relieved to see that one was delayed. The airport was crazy busy in Miami. I was sitting there at the gate and I saw someone just lose their neck pillow, and they were just gone in a flash. There was no way to say like, hey, you forgot this. They were just here, there. But neck pillows, I will say the most common things lost on flights are neck pillows and ear pods. This neck pillow was lost in the airport, but on actual airplanes, I guess people fall asleep and the AirPods pop out, or your little wireless earbuds, those pop out, and then it's always a hassle when it's time to find it. And usually when everyone's getting off the airplane, that passenger is hanging around looking for their ear pod. And just FYI, we can't get off the aircraft until every single passenger is off. So if you're gonna fall asleep with your earbuds in, make sure they're pushed in tightly. Let's see. Someone asked me how I do my hair when I make the 2 braids and I pin them up. And it's quite easy. You're probably going to be so disappointed that it isn't harder, but I will show you how to do that. I'll show you that in this video, but after I kind of like do my little debrief. Someone also asked what my favorite position is and my favorite aircraft. I would say, so my all-time favorite would be the Boeing, the wide body, like the Dreamliner. And my favorite position would be anywhere in main cabin. And if the next question is destination, it would be anywhere in Europe. Just because those in Miami trips always go to the senior people. There aren't a lot of them, so I haven't had very many of them. But I would say that's my all-time favorite. We talked about the system-wide outage, and that was due to the weights and balances. Made it to Miami, waited at my gate. Okay, so once we were on our way to Aruba, that flight was choppy most of the way. And I usually don't get motion sickness, but this choppiness was so rough that I got motion sickness. I started snacking on pretzels to just calm my stomach, and it helped. So, but yeah, it wasn't great. The lead flight attendant, well, let me back up. What was I? I was flight attendant number 2, which I'm not the number 2 very often, but it was nice to be flight attendant number 2. I was in charge of the back galley. I was in charge of verifying that the tarmac delay kits are on there, and the aft half of the aircraft emergency equipment is there and good and checks out fine. And then I set up the carts. I make sure that we have all catering, and then I set up the carts for when we do service. So that was my role yesterday. But the lead flight attendant, so he was very excited to tell us that he just started school to become a pilot. It was my first time meeting with him. I had never flown with him before, but just to hear the excitement in his voice, he was sharing his story. He had just finished doing his test flight in like a small airplane, like a Cessna. And he says at one point the pilot gave him the controls and was like, okay, it's all yours. So he said he was so nervous like flying, and he was just saying that the choppiness that we were experiencing on the flight yesterday was good for him, because he says on those little airplanes you feel every single bump, and you have to be able to, if you feel the bump, you have to be able to correct the flight. So he was kind of explaining to us the things that you have to be in charge of, like when you're flying an aircraft. He says not only do you have to keep, like, I don't know if the word is correctly, the pitch correct. So he had to make sure, like, you know, the airplane, if it was too low, he had to point the airplane up. If it was too high, he had to point the airplane down. And then I think he called it yaw, maybe. So that's like going left or right, and that's to like control your direction. So not only does he have to keep the airplane going this way, he has to keep the correct direction going this way. And then the last one was like the tilt of the plane, like the wings, right and left. So he said not only did he have to pay attention, he had to fly within these like this little section here. He had to keep the airplane going in there. He had to make sure that he was on course this way, and he had to make sure that his wings were correct this way. He said on top of all of that, he had to be aware of all the other aircraft. Like at one point there was a helicopter that was going to be passing by them, so the pilot telling him, okay, keep an eye on the helicopter. He said it was very nerve-wracking, but he said that test flight just solidified that yes, he wants to be a pilot. So it was really neat to hear that story. If you're interested in being a pilot, I know there was a shortage. I think there probably still is a shortage. Sign up for one of those test flights and see if it is your cup of tea or not. So that was really interesting to learn that about him. George, his name was George. But yeah, yesterday was Christmas Eve. How was your Christmas Eve? Tell me in the comments. I spent my Christmas Eve working. I had never been to Aruba. This was my first time flying there. I did not get to stay. Like I said, it was just a turn. But in my mind, I thought Aruba was going to be somewhere near Bermuda or near Puerto Rico or just geographically somewhere else. I was surprised to learn it was actually located in South America, just above Venezuela. In my mind, Aruba has always been somewhere else. I did feel pretty rested yesterday, and that was because I ended up going to bed like at 7:30 the night before, and then I did catch a power nap on my commute from Orlando to Miami. So, and then I had a coffee at Dunkin', so all of that just led to me having a great, energized day. Aruba, when we arrived to Aruba, that airport is right on the water, and that landing strip is right near the water. Like I was looking out my little jump seat window, and it was like ocean, 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 and then like the landing strip is right there. So I can't even imagine how difficult it was to land there, but it was a little bit of a bumpy landing. I'm gonna pull up what it looks like, and I'll plug in the picture right there so you can get an idea of what I was seeing when I landed. That airport is called Queen Beatrix International Airport, and it's named after Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands, and she was a queen from 1980 to 2013. So there's just a little piece of information. And like I may have shown already in the video, if not, I'll plug it in here, or I'll plug it in here again. Flight attendant number one had fun. He was in charge of the lights, and he set it on like a festive Christmas tone. So we had like a red on the top, and then we had green on the bottom. So it really made, since we had to work on Christmas Eve and all these passengers are traveling on Christmas Eve, we just wanted it to feel festive, and it did. I had my little Christmas necklace that was lit up. I had my little snowflake brooch, and lots of flight attendants and crew had similar things. The first officer, his epaulets were red and green on his shoulders, and that was festive. But we had fun with lights. And then afterwards, we made it back to Miami, and everything was fine on that flight. I think everyone was just happy to be home, and everyone was just kind of like trying to get home, either to celebrate Christmas Eve with their family or to get home in time to celebrate Christmas with their family. But that's it. That's what my workday was on Christmas Eve. I worked a turn from Miami to Aruba, and that's it. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And to see new videos about my life as a flight attendant, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, then please hit the subscribe button. Until next time, bye guys.